Welcome to Keep Talking, a podcast by the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. I'm your host, Sam Madore. Keep Talking is all about having honest conversations around mental health, lived experience, and hope. In this episode, we're joined by Stacy Darku, Registered Counselling Therapist with Esinam Counselling. Later in the episode, we'll continue the conversation with Foundation President and CEO Star Cunningham. I'm so glad you're here. Let's keep talking. Please be advised, this conversation may contain discussion of suicide. I am here with Stacy Darku. Hey, Stacy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Very excited to have you here. Want to do a little bit of a humble brag to connect us very briefly. We were both recipients of Let's Keep Talking Awards from the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia in 2024. That was just last year.
It was last year.
So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's
you as well.
Yes. And now a year later, I'm working here. So there you go. You just never know what your path is going to be. But maybe give us a little bit of a background, Stacy, on what led you to that award. I know you've been in mental health and in counseling for a number of years, 15 plus years.
Yeah, in the mental health field.
Yeah. So maybe just give us a little bit of a background on what led you to that award.
Yeah. I think it was just the work that we've been doing. Someone recognized us, which I really appreciate. I'm not sure who it was even till today.
Oh, you don't know who nominated
I
you?
have no clue.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So I think they just recognize the work that we do. So with my practice, Esinam Counselling, we do focus on cross-cultural counseling. So we want to provide a space for anyone to walk through the doors and feel safe and heard. So one of the things I've been focused on is having a completely diverse team of clinicians.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we provide services in English and Farsi and Arabic as well. So I think that's probably what got their attention.
That is so great. And I remember that being discussed at the event, and that certainly stood out for me too. And so what's the motivation there for you? Where did the importance on that come from?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, like I've been in the mental health field for over 15 years now. I think it's like hitting almost 20 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Long time.
Awesome. Yeah.
And one of the things I felt like as a young person is I just never could talk to anyone. Like I grew up in a home, an African home, and that just wasn't the norm. So, having the space for anyone, like I said, to walk through and feel safe and heard is really, really important. So that's why I kind of stayed, doing the mental health field. To give further background, my sister, who I named my business after, so she struggled with a lot of mental health issues and she died by suicide in 2011.
Oh my goodness.
So I just wanted that space for safety and healing, because I think a lot of people just don't talk about mental health enough.
They really don't. We've come a long way, but there's so much more at why we are continuing to have conversations like this. And yes, we've come a long way, but there's so much more work that we can be doing. And so let's kind of dive in a little bit to that, Stacy. I guess, first of all, actually, I'm going to go back on the name.
Yes.
So that was your sister's name?
Yeah, her middle name, Esinam.
Oh, that's so amazing. I wanted to ask you that question before I knew the story, but that's so great.
Yes.
I love that you're honoring her in that way.
Absolutely.
And so why was it important for you to take that moment in your history, in your life, and honor her in that way?
Yeah, and for her, like, again, she struggled with a lot of mental health concerns. So we were actually in New Brunswick, and, when it comes to the stuff that they do in terms of, like, addiction recovery, there was a lot of balls dropped, and I feel like she just needed a lot more support. She really did.
Right.
So I wanted to honor her, and that was also part of my healing journey too, to honor her in that way as well.
Yeah, because you're almost working through it as you develop, the counseling services as well. Yeah. And having that accessibility so that, in certain families, if you're not openly talking about mental health and mental illness, which a lot of families probably are not. So how do you let people know that this is a safe space for them to come to?
Well, with us, like I said, having a diverse team, like I handpicked all of my clinicians. They're all amazing.
Yeah.
They're so, so good. So having like the same, thought processes, the same goals, the same how do I say? A lot of them are just like social justice. They're really wanting to support communities. So that was one way. Also, for anyone knowing, like, you can call any counseling office and do a free consultation with anyone. So I think that's really important too, to have that connection. And, also our involvement with the community. So with the Mental Health Foundation, we won a few grants from them too, to provide free mental health groups to the community. So that was another part of, what we've been doing to ensure that the clients know that we are a safe space for the community as well.
It's so important, and we talk a lot about that. I mean, obviously, a lot of the funding that we put out into community is around peer support. And why do you think that it's such an important component to recovery?
Because I find there's a lot of stigma and hurt and pain with the medical systems. So I find the peer support is very powerful. In terms of like group counseling, it's so powerful, especially for folks that have never spoke about their problems. They can come into a space and they can hear that they're not alone. And then I find then they're more comfortable doing the individual therapy is what we're noticing. Yeah.
Okay. So that kind of opens the door for the individual counseling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's a list, and I wrote it down. I'm going to cheat because I wrote it down on kind of the specialties that you guys focus on. It's your business, but you have other folks who work within that. Like you said, you kind of handpicked all of the counselors. You focus a lot on sexualized trauma, domestic violence, addiction, grief, racial injustice. That's a snippet of the specialties. And maybe handpick a couple of those. Why were those topics important to you?
Well, for me, like personal experience with the addiction recovery, I thought it was really important because I have a lot of family experience that way. In terms of the racial injustice, again, like, very, very common, and for me anyways, and lots of folks. But I would say, domestic violence is rampant here in Nova Scotia. So having that space for healing is really, really important too. And I know that's also what else is not on your list. Like we also work with folks that are neurodivergent as well.
Amazing.
So we can support them as well, and the 2S LGBTQIA community as well too.
There's intersections everywhere, right? It's like all of the things that you're listing off are things, the things that we value as well with Mental Health Foundation when we're, I don't do it personally, but when we're choosing who's going to be receiving the grants and the funding and all of that. And there's so much crossover with a lot of the things that we've just listed and with mental health.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what would you say day to day, Stacy, is the, what keeps you going in this field?
Well, self-care.
Awesome.
I always like push self-care for my clients, but like as clinicians, like we have to do it like a lot as well.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I have a really good routine. I have my 2 doggies at home, so I'm always walking them every morning, every evening, ensuring like, I'm nourishing my body and also connecting with other friends and also therapists as well, to ensure I can just keep going. I think for like the goal for our business is to really be known in the community to support individuals like cross-culturally, like I mentioned, and ensure that people feel safe. So that's one of the biggest goals for us.
That's amazing. Do you ever struggle to reach those folks?
Sometimes, yeah.
Or do you have like a formula? I don't mean to make it sound scientific, but like a formula of like, some of these folks that we want to reach out to might be hesitant to speak about their mental health or might come from a family who doesn't necessarily open up about that. How do we reach those folks?
I know it's difficult to reach those folks because especially if their culture says we don't do that, it's really hard to break that. So for us, like for me, in particular, like I would do like things like this or go into community and support community events or volunteer or like just meet people. Because I find like once they get to know, me, they can then freely ask questions because I feel like people have this idea of what therapy is like, I have a clipboard and I'm like really
I'm laying on a couch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a conversation. We're having a conversation, we're connecting, but also, my job is to challenge some thoughts that are possibly stuck and heal some of that trauma and have a space that's not judgmental. And it's almost like, when I think of therapy, I think of like me as your diary. You can tell me anything and I will hold it safe for you and you can just leave, So I feel like, in terms of your last question, it's just meeting them in community, I find is the best bet, to be honest.
Yeah. And being open to connection.
Exactly.
Yeah, and making those connections. Assuming you have a physical location where folks can come, do they have to be referred by somebody or can they self-refer?
Yeah, so our location, we actually have two. We have one here in Dartmouth and one in Lower Sackville.
Excellent.
They can just call in and book a free consultation. They don't have to be referred. They can do self-referrals.
Excellent.
We do take lots of major insurance companies. We work with victim services. We work with the Department of Opportunities and Social Development as well. So there's different avenues of funding that, you can get supports through as well.
Awesome. And so I had a little birdie tell me, because we have a mutual friend, and she had told me that you started in youth development. So a lot of work with youth.
Yes.
Do you still feel a passion for that, Stacy? And how does that still interact with what you do day to day?
I love working with youth.
Yeah.
So I do have like quite a few youth clients and they're great. They're so good. What we have done to kind of incorporate more youth work, sometimes we'll do groups. So we've done groups with different age groups. So yeah, that's probably how I'd incorporate more youth. But I know some of the clinicians want to do more groups because they're really, really good.
Because having those conversations early, like I know we've talked about the importance. This podcast is called Keep Talking. We talk about the importance of having conversations. Having conversations early is just such a key part to making it part of just day-to-day conversations and what we all expect, but also just making it easier for youth as they get older to understand what's going on.
Absolutely. And actually, I also do play therapy. So I work with young kiddos. Yeah. So with play therapy.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, speaking of starting young, I work with kiddos as young as 4 years old, processing hard traumas through play. And it's quite amazing because like to the naked eye, it just looks like you're playing. But, it's a lot of training. Like for me, it was like 3 years post-master's degree for play therapy certified.
Yeah.
And, there's lots of themes that come out like during their play. And me as a play therapist, I reflect, and then eventually what's going to happen is the themes start to regulate over time.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering like the life cycle of that, when you start with play therapy and how long do you stay with those clients?
I'm trying to think. With a play, I think like with play therapy kiddos, like there's been like I've had kiddos for like 3 years and then they might like be okay, and then when they get older they might come back.
Yes.
I've had adults for like almost 5 years now.
Amazing.
I've had teenagers for almost 5 years as well. So it just depends on the need for some of the kiddos. I find I do get a lot of kiddos through the Department of Opportunities and Social Development. Yeah. So a lot of kiddos that have experienced domestic violence, for example, or sexual trauma, like they'll come for play therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now I could go off on a whole tangent.
Yeah.
Talking about the play therapy. Is that one-on-one or is that in group?
So we can do both. So
Okay.
Essentially it is one-on-one, but we actually, with the help of the Mental Health Foundation, actually.
Awesome. I didn't set that up, by the way.
So we did do a group for kiddos that have experience with domestic violence, and we paired it with horses. So they did some equine stuff. And it was fantastic. So we did, part of it was it was as a group. We did a lot of play therapy modalities in the sessions at the office, and then we went with the horses. Yeah, it was great.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And you've already talked about your dogs. You talked about the horses. Like, there's just something about animals that offer that comfort.
Absolutely.
And at the Let's Keep Talking event we had this year, we gave, of course, another 5 awards out to mental health advocates. And we had St. John Ambulance there with their therapy dogs. And, like, they just became the focal point of the whole there was this giant like Newfoundland combo, like anyway, huge dog, and he just became the focus of everybody's attention. So I'm happy to hear that you work that kind of thing into your therapy as well, knowing that animals can be so soothing.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What are some other go-tos that you have that you think are especially important?
Yeah, so sand tray is really powerful.
What is it?
Sand tray.
Oh, okay. What's this?
So basically, yeah, it's basically a tray of sand, and
Yep.
there's little figurines, so folks can actually make worlds in the sand. So it's quite powerful because the moment a person touches the sand, it kind of reverts back to childhood unconsciously.
No way.
Yeah, so there could be amazing themes that emerge out of the sand when they do sand tray.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, it's really, really great.
Yeah.
In terms of the ambiance is really important in an office space. You know, I would say that really settles them. And for the clients, like they can do whatever they want. Like they can lay on the couch if they want to. They can take their shoes off. You know, they can like sit on the floor, whatever they feel like they need, that we kind of can support them.
It's so good. And because everybody's so different, it's nice that you have different options for folks too, right? So, because I think a lot of it might be even, how do I walk through the door?
Yes.
Like, what do I see when I come to your location and literally open the door? What am I expecting?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you guys have a bunch of different things that are going to potentially make people feel at ease.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I hear that a lot. Like a lot of folks are nervous about coming to therapy. I hear that more often, unfortunately, because they've had like really bad experiences with other therapists. So it can be quite daunting to start over.
I have certainly gone to a lot of therapists, and you have to absolutely have the right fit. And so, and you certainly don't want to offend anybody, but when you have those conversations, if I'm not jiving with you, then I need to know that it's okay for me to move on to somebody that might be a better fit, or that I feel more comfortable opening up to. And I appreciate that you take that into consideration when you're picking your employees, your staff.
And it's, we have great admin team as well. And, I've kind of spoke to them. I'm like, when you get an initial intake with a client, give them options. So tell them like, hey, like, do you want a consultation with Chantal? Do you want a consultation with Harmony, Rashida? And like, I always like encourage them to say to the client, like, if you don't fit, that's okay. Like we have different fits. So like, if you fit here, that's great. If you don't, that's okay too. So we always tell the clients like, do as many consultations as you want. It doesn't matter.
That's amazing. It really is so important. And I just feel like too, because a lot of what mental illness is struggling to make that first contact, to walk out your door, to open the door at the therapist's office, So knowing that you guys set that stage early on, I would imagine, as someone who does struggle with mental illness, that would be very comforting.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think they do like that is because I do find people do have this mindset of like, well, if I have one therapist, I have to stay with this therapist. Yeah. And like, like you said, like it's a struggle to say like I don't fit, but we encourage that. Like if you don't fit, please go to someone else.
Because it could have the worst effect, which is I just stop going altogether. Yeah. And that's not what you want, obviously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing that I really want to ask folks when we're having these conversations is, and you touched on it a little bit already when you talked about walking your dogs. What is something that you do to find joy in your day to day? Because it can be heavy. I can imagine.
Yes.
I'm not a therapist or counselor, but I can imagine that would be it could be very heavy day to day. What do you do to find joy?
Well, I usually like socialize with my admin team and the other therapists. Like, we all have great personalities. Actually, a few weeks ago, we had like a staff retreat, but it was more just like hanging out and spending time. And it was so good. So we just chit chat here and there. Like there's always food in the office. So we're always munching on snacks and foods. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're just laughing and chatting and trying to just release,
Because then I would imagine in that environment, you'd all understand where everybody was coming from. It's like, I'm having a hard day. I'm going to be open about having that hard day so that we all kind of try to lift each other up.
Oh, yeah. We're really, really good at that. And I think it's not norm for lots of workplaces to kind of like open up and share. Whereas like I'm really fortunate that, like at our workplace, like I can say like, oh my God, I had the worst sleep ever. Like I'll tell you everything. And they're like, okay, tell me. Like we want to hear it.
Yes.
So yeah, we are very, very open that way.
I have to say, working at the Mental Health Foundation, samesies.
Good.
You're like, if I can't open up about it here, where can I, kind of thing. But hopefully that's going to be the norm.
Yeah. And I think the old mentality is that like work is work, home is home. Don't bring it up, you know? Whereas like if it's bottled up, it's not good.
No.
It's not good because it does come out and it does affect work, right? So if you have that safe space, that would be good.
Absolutely. And I hope you don't mind me asking this question, Stacy. If you were talking to your sister today, what would be something that you would want her to understand about her struggles that she had gone through, or maybe her path to recovery?
Right. I think I would definitely tell her like there's forgiveness everywhere, because I'm sure she probably feels, you know, maybe some regrets, you know, because she left 4 boys behind. So that was probably, it was really hard on the family.
Yes.
But, you know, I just wish she just, and it's hard to say because like it was the systems that failed her, right?
Yeah.
And that was the biggest issue, is the systems. But, you know, I wish she would have leaned on me a little bit more. I was younger at the time, like it was back in 2011, but you know, I wish she would have leaned on me a little bit more. And, you know, but I think the systems really failed her. They really did. Yeah.
And just letting her know that there's other ways to connect and reach out to folks. Yeah. It's so hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
But look what you've done with, you know, it's, you take those moments and turn them around into something really beautiful. And you've definitely done that with Esinam Counselling.
Yeah.
Any final words?
Definitely check out Esinam Counselling.
Yes.
We're always doing new things. We actually just recently did a women's retreat.
Oh, amazing.
It was so good. It was so good. So it was for women over the age of 35 that felt like lost.
Okay.
So we actually did trauma therapy on site for them. So we had neurofeedback there. We had group EMDR.
Like, why didn't I know about this?
I know. We did accelerated resolution therapy there on site. And they it was so good, in group counseling. But we're going to be doing more retreats.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we were tossing up some ideas of like mother-daughter retreats, so like older daughters.
Yes.
Some more women's retreat, couples retreats. So stay tuned. We'll be like doing it all over Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Oh, that is very cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I've had a really great time chatting with you. And this is great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are continuing our conversation. We're here with Star Cunningham, President and CEO of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. Star, we just had a great chat with Stacy Darku.
She's a gem.
She is a gem. And want to give a little bit of a shout out to her as a previous winner of a Let's Keep Talking award.
Yes, very well deserved.
Yeah, she's lovely. And has also been a grant recipient, correct?
She has, and she's the type of grant recipient we wish everyone could be, because she gets it. She follows through on her application. She's great at reporting and sharing the information that we need, which focuses on number of people impacted, how did it help them, and you know, what could be done differently the next time. So Stacy is a true pro at all of that and provides us with excellent data and information.
And just so connected. And I feel like where she wants to make sure that she's connecting with, you know, the African Nova Scotian community, she knows exactly what those needs are and goes out and makes those connections and makes people feel comfortable to come to her or to come to Esinam.
Yeah, she just has a way about her that's very warm and welcoming, and it feels like we've been saying this a lot in our when we're continuing the conversation.
Yeah.
Real.
Yes.
Just real, a real person.
Yeah. I think that's our theme for finding guests for our podcast, is to find those authentic people who are comfortable sharing their stories. Because again, you know, we've had similar conversations with other folks who have taken a negative in their lives, the loss of her sister in Stacy's case, and turned it into a passion or turned it into, you know, her life's calling.
Mm-hmm. And our tagline at the foundation is changing the way people think. And it's individuals like Stacy who are really doing that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, the taking those opportunities with the, I keep going back to the Let's Keep Talking Awards, but getting the opportunity to highlight folks like Stacy and others in the community. I think it's so important that we shine a light on folks who maybe do the work without the recognition.
Yes, those are the people we want to recognize and honor because they are the true, they're the bones that hold up the structure that allows other people to get the help in their communities that they need. And Stacy is a prime example of that, an unsung hero of sorts.
Right. And maybe it's a good opportunity for us too to just kind of let folks know about the granting and how often we offer grants to folks and how that works.
Absolutely. Twice a year, every year. So we have first round and second round, and we open up the call for grants and give people about 6 weeks to get their applications in. Then they go through our grant selection committee. We have a very rigorous vetting process. And at the end of it all, we're very happy to award grant funds to our successful applicants. And continuing that rigorous process, we require interim reporting and final reporting. And as I just mentioned about Stacy, a kind of snapshot of who was impacted and how it made a difference. And then we use all that information to figure out what we're going to focus on down the road and, identify gaps in our communities about what's missing and what they can use help with. So the reason we exist is to grant funds to community-based mental health and addictions organizations. That's what we do, and that's why we need donor support and corporate support and government support to let us continue to do that.
Love it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.